Good evening. This is Sandy Gabe. I'm the AAUW California President-elect, and I'm the Marketing Committee Chair, and I'm the Webmaster, and I have a couple of different hats that I wear. And I am happy that you're joining us tonight to talk about our social media accounts. So we're going to talk about Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. And this is part one of a two-part series. And this evening will be focused on how to set up your accounts and some basics about the mechanics of those. And our next webinar on February 22nd will be about creating that perfect post so that you can get the engagement that you're looking for. So tonight we're going to do the nitty-gritty around the creation of your accounts. And what we're going to focus on are some social media basics. I'm going to talk a little bit about imaging and how to find them. Then we'll do some demos. I think demos are the easiest way to find out how to do something. I'm going to, you guys have a link to the presentation that you can download at some point, I think slide 13 or so. I'm going to abandon the PowerPoint presentation and start doing a demo. So you can use the presentation materials after this presentation, but I think the most effective way is to actually watch the demos. We're going to talk about Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and then an integration tool called Hootsuite. And then we're going to talk about website integration. How should you put these tools on your website? All right, so why don't we go ahead and get started? It looks like we've got a good group here, so I'm gonna move forward. So some basics about social media that I think we want to talk about in getting started. Everybody can watch no, Kathy, we're not going to do Twitter. We're only going to do Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. We're not going to do YouTube, Pinterest, Snapchat. There are lots of other tools that we're just going to use these. So part of what I want to share with you tonight are some basics that you can apply to all accounts. And I'm going to give you some links to YouTube videos that you can use to get more information about how actually to establish an account. Everybody can watch a YouTube video. I think what is most helpful from our perspective is to give you information about how to apply that to your job at AAUW California. So I'm going to go through some of the mechanics, but I also am relying on you to look at some of the YouTube videos after the session if you would like to. So the first thing to start with is think about using similar names for all of your accounts. And I share with you a little piece of an image that is being used by our Public Policy Committee on some of the posts that they are sending out. And one of the things you'll notice, and this is from the AAUW perspective, is that we're using AAUW-CA, for our Facebook, for our Instagram, for our Twitter handle. So there's a little bit of a difference here as underscore, and our website is AAUW-CA. So in our email addresses are using the domain AAUW-CA. So I would encourage you to try, if you can, to see if you can get your accounts to be similar. That will help people when they're looking for things to find you if you're using similar names. The second thing to remember is to remember your brand, our brand, AAUW California. So think about that from the perspective of your logos. Try to use the standardized logos. When you're doing pictures, I would suggest that you think about being diverse. So your branch may not be very diverse now, but think of this as aspirational. So you want to be able to portray an image of the people that you would like in your branch, even if your branch is not really reflective of that at the moment. So think of your pictures as being inspirational. And your branch description, try to be consistent in using that across your different platforms. So what you're going to see tonight is most of the platforms have 3 basic elements. They have a logo or a profile picture. They have a large picture that goes across, a banner kind of picture, and they ask you to describe your branch. And so use the same information across there so you have consistency. I'd also encourage you to try to use a branch email address. If you have created one, like we use this one, public policy at aauwca-ca.org, most of our social media accounts are set up with our site admin and address. And so that allows you to be able to move the who hosts or who helps you with these tools over time. So if it's assigned to Sandy Gabe, then when Sandy Gabe goes on into something different, then I've got to transition that off to somebody else. Whereas if I use a branch email that is an alias that gets assigned to me, then nobody else knows and we don't have to change that basic information on an account. And another thing to remember is that you want to use a call to action. So you're putting information out there because you want people to do something. So remember that piece of it as well. And we'll talk a little bit about messaging in a few minutes. We're also going to talk about where to find logos, and we're going to talk about some tools for image creation. Okay, so images and design are important. People frequently are looking for free images, and free has 2 different meanings. Free can mean no cost, and free can mean royalty free. No cost, obvious, doesn't cost you anything. Royalty free means that you have the rights to use it, and not all images are royalty free. And just because you can Google it doesn't make it free. We've had lots of people send images or try to use images that you can Google and see. And just because you can find it there doesn't mean that it's royalty free. And that's really what you're looking for. So I listed 6 different tools that you can use that provide, for the most part, free images. And they'll tell you that they're free. Some of them will say that you need to tell people where you got the image. So Pixabay, I think, is one of them that asks you to attribute the image. So you put the image out, and then in the caption you say where you got it from. So those are really important things. We have had in the past used, and we used one image before I got here that was not royalty free, and we got dinged for it. The person who owned it sent us a message and said, you don't own that. And so we needed to take it down. So it does happen. There are services that go out and look for images that are not being used, according to registration. And so you should pay attention to that. You should also use social media icons that are sanctioned. So it's really common to look for a Facebook image or an Instagram image, and somebody's been very clever and changed the colors to match their own organization or different perspective. I'm going to show you, or you can look here to see which ones are actually sanctioned by those organizations to use. And I would suggest that you use them. This is a fantastic site. It'll just let you download the images that are approved to use. In terms of the logos, National is going through a rebranding process, and you may have noticed that their site is more red and blue than red and green. That was actually done for ADA compliance, because folks who are colorblind can't really differentiate between the red and green. And so that green color was taken away. There is at this point only one national logo available, or only the national logo available. And those logos are located on the AAUW website. There are color ones, or black and white ones, or reverse ones, but they're just the AAUW. They don't say your branch name at the bottom. Rumor has it that at some point, National will create those branch logos again. But in the meantime, you can either use the logo that you have, or if you want to try to start using the colors that are the new colors, you can go ahead and download the AAUW logo. And then there's a design tool. There are lots of design tools. The one that I really like is Canva. And there is a free and a paid version. And free version and paid version are similar from the perspective of you have the same design opportunities, and it's really, really easy. You do have to spend a little bit of time, but it's pretty easy. And I'll show you that tonight. The free version is has less images. The paid version has lots and lots of images. So I see a couple of questions. What's the difference between a JPEG and a JFIF? I don't know what a JFIF is, so I can't really answer that question. There are PNG files. PNG files typically have a transparent background. JPEG files do not. And there's a question about finding the logos on the AAUW website. If you use the link that's in the presentation, if you go to membership, government tools or something like that, and then you'll find it there. But if you use the link that's in the presentation, you'll be able to find them pretty easily. There's a box there. All right, let's talk a little bit about Facebook. So there are there are many, many options about how you do this stuff. And I'm sure you guys know that with all of our tools, there's more than one way to skin a cat. And that's true with Facebook. But one of the things you have to remember is for Facebook, there is no company account for Facebook. There is your personal page to which you add a new page that represents your organization to it. And that becomes challenging as we have turnover in staff. So if I create a Facebook page on my account and then I go away, then who accesses my Facebook account? And so we'll talk a little bit about that as well. You have a couple of different options about whether you use a page or a group. And tonight, I would like you to just focus on starting with a page. That's the easiest way to start. Don't get into groups yet, just start with a page. You're going to be happier about that, and that's a really good place to start. And what we discovered, the social media team did an evaluation of how many branches had what different types of social media and whether they had them posted on their site. And only 30% of branches have a Facebook page. So I've done part of this presentation before, last year or the year before. And so I wasn't going to include Facebook tonight. But then when we realized that there are a lot of branches that don't have Facebook, and Facebook is really representative of our current major audience, which is a retirement age, decided to include Facebook. There are only 7 or 8 branches that have LinkedIn or Instagram. So we're going to spend the majority of our time on Facebook. But the premise for most of these are very, very similar. As I mentioned earlier, you have some information you need to fill out, you have some pictures to put on, and from that point on, they're very, very similar. So let's talk a little bit about Facebook. The basic process for Facebook is to create a page. I'm going to demo this in a minute, but you have to have a Facebook account. So if you're trying to do this for your branch, find somebody in your branch who has a Facebook account who you trust to do this and have them add a page. You're going to add a profile picture and a cover picture. You're going to add an admin. You're going to go to admin and add other people to administer the page, and they have to be friends of yours. So when I first set up our branch account, there were a couple of other people that wanted to manage our Facebook page, but they weren't my friends. I had to friend them in order to be able to extend their ability to manage our page. Then you want to like other pages. So this is, think of the virus. You want to have this connection with other organizations, with other branches. So you're going to like their pages, and then you're going to invite people to like your account. You might want to think about inviting people in your branch to do the same thing. So you want to announce your page, and then ultimate is to place a link on your website so that other people can find you. And I am going to go through that for those of you who have a national account, a template, a branch website based on the national template. I'll show you how to do that this evening. All right, so I'm going to exit out of the presentation here. The rest of the information will be helpful to you as you go through the process, but I'm going to talk and share with you more specifics about the individual accounts. So I am going to go to, this is my Facebook page, and so you can see my posts in the middle here. Oops, let me get this. I'm having a hard time with my mouse here. All right, it won't let me somehow I'm stuck over here. There we go. All right. So I have two screens, and it's not the usual computer I use. So I'm having a little bit of a challenge navigating here. Get over there. All right. There we go. Found my cursor. Okay, so this is my page. All right, so these in the middle, this is my wall, and these are my friends who are posting. A couple of things to remember: even if you have a friendship, you've liked somebody, you don't always see their posts. So you need to remember that your branches, not all of your members are going to have Facebook, and they're not all going to see your posts. So that's just something to think about. This is not the way to share all of your information with your branch members, because A, not everybody has Facebook, and B, even if they do, not everybody's going to get your messages. So you want to continue your normal communication with your branch, with your emails and that sort of thing. What this allows you to do is to share something, and you can have other people share it. So on the left-hand side, you can see that I have a lot of different pages. So if I click here, you can see that I manage AAUW California, AAUW Mariposa, and I manage a couple of different other organizations that I support. So I'm part of an organization called Citizens to Save the Hospital in our community. And we also have a UC Merced and Mariposa Community Project that I'm associated with. And then you can see I've got a couple of test ones down here. So these are my pages that I have started that I'm associated with. And you can see those both on the left-hand side, and you can see them in the middle, and it says pages that I've managed. If I click on this, it'll take us to the AAUW California page, but I want to show you how to create a page before I do that. You can also see some interesting information here. We have 2,378 people who have liked us, and we have 2,573 people who have followed us. So you can follow us without necessarily liking us. And liking means that you're more likely to see our posts on your wall than if you'll see them on your wall if you're going to see them. That's where you're going to see them. So to start a new page, I'm going to go over here and say create a new page. Very easy. And when I create the new page, let me move this out of the way so I can see. Can I move that? All right, there we go. You have to provide a page name. And I gave you some of that information in the presentation. And we are trying, or National has requested, that we use a certain format. And that is to put your AAUW branch name, California in parentheses, and then the word branch. And so that helps with finding different branches. But I'm going to use a different name because I don't want to confuse it with the one we already have. So I'm going to say Sandy's test page number 2, because I think I already have one. And then you get to choose a category. And if you start typing, it'll come up with things. So if you were a barbershop, you might type in barbershop here, that sort of thing. But we're going to look for a company, organization, or institution and nonprofit. So let's try nonprofit. So here's nonprofit organization. So that's what we want to choose. And then the description, I want to use a description that is on other information that we have. So I think I'm going to go over to the AAUW California website, and I'm going to say, what do we tell other people? So gosh, let's look at this. Oh, here's the California mission. Ooh, that sounds like a good thing I could use. So I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to paste it in here. And oops. And here we have our mission. Okay, so you might want to tweak this a little bit, but try to use some information. And what you see over on the right-hand side is you see it starting to build. So this test page here comes over here. It's a nonprofit organization. It comes over here. And then I think if we go down to about, yeah, about shows our description. And now I'm going to create the page, and that's going to make it public. Maybe. All right. All right. So now, I've read a couple of things. One is you can go into settings and you can unpublish it now that you've done it and work on it, while you're getting your stuff together. So we want to start adding some things that are over here. Let me see if I can find this down here. So a profile picture. Oops, I thought I saved it. Okay. All right. So it's going to offer you the opportunity to connect to WhatsApp and to Instagram. And we're not going to set it up to WhatsApp. That would be great, but I don't think we need to do that. And we don't have our Instagram account set. So we want to leave this area. We don't want to do that. Okay, so as with most applications, there are 5 or 6 different ways that you can do something. If I want to change my profile picture right here, if I click here, it's going to allow me to edit the profile picture, and it's going to let me upload a picture. So I'm going to upload a picture. I'm going to upload our logo, and let's see how that goes. So this is just going to my file folder, and I have logos, and let's try this one. Let's see what it looks like. Oh, so it doesn't really show very much about it, but you could do the W if you wanted, or you could make your profile picture smaller, and I'm going to show you another tool, but let's just say that we're going to use that to start with. And it's saving, and so we have this here. You might choose a picture of a member. It doesn't have to be your logo. It could be any other kind of picture. And then we want to edit this. So this is our page here. Now I'm going to flip over to a tool called Canva, and you can use this for any of the applications that we're talking about today. So here's Canva, and Canva is a design tool. You can use it for free. The only difference, or one of the major differences, is that you have access to less pictures. It's great. They have a great library of pictures. So if you pay for it, you get more pictures. If you don't pay for it, you get less pictures. But I think I've chosen a free picture on here. So I can start out by creating a design. Look, I can choose all these different things. Look, they're all related to social media. Oh my gosh, I don't have to figure out what size things should be. I can just go here. So let's do a Facebook cover. It knows what size it should be. And let's say that I want to put a photo in here. I just clicked on photos and oh, I like this one. And look, it's free. So this is a picture of women. It's a diverse picture. Could be good. So I'm going to put that in there, and then I'm right clicking and I'm going to set the image as background. Okay. And let's say that I want to add some text. And oops, I want to add some text. I'm going to add a heading, and you can see all different kinds of cool ways over here of, different kinds of text. So you can choose one of these, but I'm just using the basic old add a heading. And I'm going to say Sandy's, oops. Sandy, oh gosh, sorry. Sandy's, you can't read it because it's black. All right. So I'm going to change the color of this by going up here. Oops. And clicking on here, and so I have added my AAUW palette, but let's make it white. Oh, I can't even spell my name. That's not a good sign, is it? Sandy's test page. Okay, so I put that in. I'm going to put it down here, but you get the idea. You could put your branch name in here. You could use some fancy text, lots of different things. But now what we want to do is we're just going to download this. So I'm going to download it. It suggests that I use a PNG. I could make it a JPEG. Remember, a PNG can have a transparent background, and it's pretty high quality, and sometimes they're pretty big. You could use a JPEG. I wouldn't use a PDF for this. It's definitely not a video. It's not a GIF, which is a video. And we don't really need it to be a vector graphic, which allows you to go into something like Adobe and adjust it. We just want a picture. And so I think their PNG suggestion is a great one. I'm going to do that. And I'm going to say, I don't need a transparent background because there's people there. So I'm going to hit download. I didn't even spell the page right. I'm dyslexic on my fingers. All right, so now I'm going to go back over here and I'm going to say edit this, and I want to upload a photo. Now it's going to, I just happen to know that it went into my download folder. And so I'm going to do that. And it's uploading. Boom. All right. So I can adjust this. It looks like this is, I don't know if you can see this up here. It says adjust. I'm going to move it up a little bit so you see my name. Maybe you crop that a little bit different, but I'm going to save the changes. And now my test page is done. I've got an image on the background. I can edit it again. I can edit my profile picture, my profile picture. And our page is created. So that is all you need to do. There are many other things you can do, but that is the basics of what you need to do. I'm going to show you a little bit about settings because this is important. So we can now start posting, but let's look at the settings because this is something you want to look at. So the major question that I hear is somebody else created the page and I can't fix it. You have to know who created the page in order to be added to the page. So if you create a page, do the rest of your branch a favor and add other people to the page so that if you go away, they can continue to manage the page. So I'm going to go to this page roles, and I can assign a new page role. And I am going to assign, who should I assign? I'm going to assign my personal self. Can I do that? Sandy Gabe, that's not me. Let me assign Tracy. I think Tracy and I are friends. Tracy Clark. I'm not sure which one is Tracy Clark. Oh, let's see. I know Randa's my friend. So the people that you add here have to be your friends. There we go, Randa. So Randa's a friend of mine. So I can add Randa and I can add her as multiple different kinds of people. I would say just mostly editor or admin. You're going to trust the people that you're asking to add to your account. So I'm going to add her as an admin. And then I have to put my password in, which I don't remember, but I'm going to fill. Hopefully that works. So now Randa is an admin on my page. Now she has to accept the invitation in order for it to be active, but I have now just invited her to my page. And you can have multiple people on your page, and I would encourage you to do that so that you're not the only one who's on here. So if I go away, as long as there's another admin on the page, they can continue to manage the page. That's probably the most important thing from a management perspective to understand. So I see a couple of questions. If I've inherited a branch Facebook account to manage, can I get this page information to review if it's been set up correctly? If you are the admin person, yes, you can look at the settings and see and make all those changes if you're an admin. If you're an editor, not quite as much, but if you're an admin. If your branch isn't incorporated, can you still call yourself a nonprofit? We're all nonprofits. Some of us are 501c3s versus 501c4s. You're not asking for people for money here. So yes, you can put yourself down as a nonprofit. Let's see, what does Isabel have to say? Repeat the naming convention. It's in the slides, so just take a look at the slides. The password is required. Is that? Yes. So when I put in the password, it's my password. So remember, I'm creating this page on my account. So my account is big, right? And my page is a piece of it. Think of your website and you have multiple pages. This is just a piece of your profile as an individual. Let's see, Alex. I can't get down. Can you change the red in AAUW to blue? So the logo is the logo, and no, you shouldn't change it. So the logo is red and you should leave it as red. Let's see, I can't see this last question. So we'll come back to that later. Okay, so you want to add additional admins onto your page. There are lots of other settings that you can play with. So remember I said you could turn your page off. So our page is published. We could unpublish it, which I'm going to do right now because I don't really want anybody to find my test page. And it's not finished yet. So that's what I'm going to say. What do you need to finish your page? Okay. All right, my page is now unpublished. So you have some options about who can post to your page, if you want anyone to post to your page, or people to essentially submit a post and have you review it. I would initially start out with letting people post because you're trying to get dialogue going with other people. If you find that you have people who are abusing it, you can change this so that you can have somebody moderate that your post before they go there. I'm just going to pick out the ones that are really important. So profanity filter, I usually turn that on. So if anybody says something nasty, it won't post. You can set up for similar pages. All right, so those are the main ones. And you can also delete your page if you want to. Now, one of the things we want to do is we want to add people to our page. So let me go back out of here. And one thing to know is Facebook changes pretty regularly. So you think that you understand how it works, and then they add a whole new section like business section, which is different than anything you've ever seen before. So just have patience with it as you go through it. All right, so we don't want to do that. Are you sure we want to leave? Yes. Okay. So here's my test page. And so there are several things to think about in terms of posting. So here's where you create a post, and you can create it with a photo or a video. So let's say that my page isn't active, so I can do this and nobody's going to see it. I can add a photo or a video, or I can add a link to our website. So let's say that I want to promote our event tonight. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to find this, and I'm going to copy this link, and I'm going to go back to Facebook, and I am going to paste that in. And amazing things happen when you do that, or they're supposed to. We'll see if it works. When you add this post to your, or this link to your page, it's supposed to put the image for that down here. I see it's, I don't know, I'm on a very small bandwidth, so I don't know if that's going to be a problem or because I said add photo. I think that's it. Come on. Anyways, it should pop the, let me start over that again, because I think because I chose a picture, there we go. So when I put in the URL here, boom, it puts it in the picture. That's pretty fun. And then what I can do is I can delete it and the picture stays. So it brings that information over. So I'm going to say, please join our meeting tonight. Okay. So you can add different things, you can add more photos, but you really, if you want to use this kind of a post where you want it to bring over the picture from your website, you don't want to add other pictures to it. We're not going to use WhatsApp messages. So we're going to just post that. And oh, it's smart enough to know that it looks like it's an event. So I'm going to say not now, but that's another thing that you can post. So it's now posting my event, and we're going to see it down here. All right. But we still don't have anybody who has liked our page yet. So nobody's going to see it, but look over here, invite friends to like your page. So again, this is my personal account. So all of the people that you're working with can have the same thing. So I'm going to see all of my friends, and I can choose. I'm not actually going to do this because my friends will think I'm nuts to invite them to my test page, but I can add any of my friends. I can choose different groups here. So these are different organizations that I'm friends with and who their members are. So I can just do this, and then I can send invites to them, and they will get an invite to like our page. And that's how it grows, is you want to have other people like your pages. You can do the same thing with liking other people's pages so that you're connected. It also gives you here some really helpful tips. You know, I've got one of 6 of 13 steps completed. So we completed our page identity, provide info and references. Oh gosh, let's add our website. So what's our website? Let's say that it's AAUW California. So I'm copying that over and I'm going to put that there. All right, so it's got that. So it really is as simple as following the directions here. So we can go, there are 5 steps left, add a location. So I'm not going to add a location because we're California. I don't have a physical address. We don't have business hours, but we do have a phone number. So we could put in our office telephone number. We can say how we want to get messages, whether we want to get it through WhatsApp or we want to get it through Messenger. We can add an action button, which might be find more information, and have that take them to our website. And then one step left to introduce your friend, and this is where I was earlier, which is to invite other people to join. So you might be wondering about content. Where do you find content and what do you put here? Because now that I've created a page, you really want to promote it and you want to put stuff on there. And so let's talk a little bit about where you can find content. One place you can find content is if you find other pages that you like, or other posts that like, you can share them with this page. You can post your branch events. So that's a good way of getting the message about upcoming events that you want to share and you want people to participate in. You can post items from your newsletter. Let's say that you have great things that you're doing. Use those to post articles. Pictures are great, videos are great. And I'm going to go over to the California page because we have more stuff there. And all I'm doing is going over here and I'm going to pick AAUW California. And you can see some of the things that we have here. Oh my goodness, here's the presentation for this evening. Nancy does a great job of finding cool pictures and stuff to use. Let's see, I wanted to show. So here we have our posts that have been done here, and we have videos. I think you may not see this here because my bandwidth is really low, but we have a 5-minute video here and you can see them listed here. And then here's some of our upcoming events. So we have this Friday, Entrepreneurship, Is It For You? And so you can, if you go to that event, you can see it's 45 minutes. We can see that 7 people have responded. And I've created this, and look at this. This is what's really good. 469 people saw this post. So that's the kind of spread that we got. Okay. All right. It's 7:45 and I want to make sure that we have time for other things. Let me see if there are any questions in the chat. So Margaret asked, can we set up a separate account for this AAUW purpose? It has to be associated with your personal account. So you wouldn't set up another account because you have to be a person. You can set up a page for that. Alice asked if the password is required. Is it that person's own Facebook password? Yes, that is. If the admin is gone and there's no one else on the account, is there a way for anyone to access it? I just went through this with a branch. the short answer is no. You have to go back to the person who owns the account. There are a couple of ways to try to troubleshoot this. And if I could get my cursor over here, I'd show you. If you go to the About section here, generally there's a way to reach somebody. So you can, this is actually about the event. Let's go back. You can see who owns the account here, and it's under business transparency. So here we have how to contact and who the email address that's associated with it. So when you set up your account, that's why I said do the people in your branch a favor and make sure that this information, you use a branch address, not your own personal address when you set this up, so that people know how to get a hold of you. Can you correct the name of your branch page to comply with the naming convention? Yes, I believe you can. The print, let's see, I tried to correct it, it's not allowed. So it maybe, I don't know if the parentheses are not allowed. That was what was recommended before. It's possible that they've changed their rules, and that's no longer ever, no longer allowed. Have you ever paid to post your event? So here's one of the challenges with Facebook is it's a big organization, and so AAUW California branch is associated with my account, and somebody created or there's some problem with my account, and I cannot advertise at this point. I don't know why. It says I've violated some advertising rules, and we haven't advertised ever. So I don't know what rules we've violated. I finally got in touch with somebody at Facebook, and her name is Katrina, and we have a conversation every 2 days, and she tells me they're very busy and they will try to get to it. So I can't really answer your question about how successful that was. I know that what I read is that it's very successful, but I have not been able to do that. Let's see, can you schedule when a post will be uploaded if you say you want to post an image a day? Okay, so yes, so you can create posts and time them. And I have to admit, I don't do it through Facebook very much. I'm going to show you another tool in a minute, but you can schedule them ahead of time. Let's see, Margaret, can I set up a duplicate account specifically for this and have my other account just for me? No, it has to be a page on your account, Margaret, so, or somebody else's account. So it's a page, but it has to be associated with a real person. Sandy asks, what's the best way to ensure those who like your page will actually see what's posted there? You can't. It's a Facebook algorithm. You can't do that. I know that you have liked dozens of pages and you don't see them in your news feed. What I have, and I have the same thing. I have 300 and some friends, and I see about 5 of them. I don't know. I can't answer that question about how they have decided to do the algorithm. That's why I'm saying, even if somebody is on Facebook, you can't guarantee that they're going to see your message. Laura says that she's advertised with another page. Yes, I understand the concept, but the question was, did it work? And since I haven't been able to successfully do it, I have gotten to the point of going through all those steps to say, I want, women in this age range, in this geographic area. And I did it with Mariposa a while ago, and we got some hits, but I haven't been able to do that with California. So I have, I realized I spent a lot of time on Facebook, but the reason I spent so much time there is because the concepts are really universal to the other accounts. So I'm going to bop over to Instagram. I'm going to do a little bit on Instagram and a little bit on LinkedIn, and then I really want to share Hootsuite with you, and I want to make sure that we have a little bit of time to talk about how to get it on your website. Okay. So let's see. So this is Instagram. So a couple things to know about Instagram. is it's really based on pictures. So whereas Facebook is a combination of pictures and text, Instagram is mostly pictures. And the one challenge with Instagram is you can't put a link in it. So you can, in your text, say, I refer to my profile, and you can have in your profile a link to your website, but it's very different than Facebook in that you can't put a link in. You can put a link in your story. So these are stories up here. I can create, let me go to our Facebook page or our Instagram page. So I can create stories, but stories only last 24 hours. So you can put a link in there, but you can't, it won't last very long. So when you think about Instagram, think about pictures and think about short blurbs. And we're going to talk about this in February a little bit more in terms of what's a perfect post, but I can give you a couple of key things right now. So posts should be short. 138 to 150 characters is optimal, but it truncates, like what you see is only 125 characters long. So just think about that. So you want to put your call to action at the beginning or pretty close to the beginning, because if people have to go through it and read further or hit the more button, they're not going to. You have to set up your account on your phone, and you're going to start with a personal account and you're going to change it to a professional account. And the professional account gives you analytics, a contact button, and it allows you to schedule. And you can also link to your Facebook page. And I guess because of time, I talked too much. We'll go through some more of this when we have our second session in February. So those are some basics about Instagram. And the question is a story versus a post. A story only lasts 24 hours, and it just goes away. It's sort of like Snapchat. It's supposed to go away, and so it does. LinkedIn, you'll see, is very, very similar in terms of the format. So you have your profile picture and you have a cover photo, and we have our name, and there's information about us on here. You do a post the same way, you have a photo, you can video, so that this is very, very similar. What's different about LinkedIn is it's really focused on networking for professional. There are more than 750 million professionals on LinkedIn. It's a growing tool, and we recommend it when we're trying to reach retirement age folks who might be leaving the workforce, and folks who are actually in the working age market. The ideal post for LinkedIn is about 100 characters, and then you get the see more at about 140 characters. Those are, as you see here, so this is 100 characters, and the see more makes it more like 100. I mean, that's 140 characters. On the web, on the presentation that I put together, you have some videos on how actually to go through and set it up. It's very easy. It's very, very similar to Facebook. Do you have to have a personal LinkedIn account to create a page? No, you don't. Our page is created as an organization. And will I cover more about Instagram next month? Yeah, we'll cover more about Instagram next month. It's pretty easy. And actually, I'm going to suggest that you do a couple of things between now and then. So let me quickly go over to Hootsuite. Oops, it says I'm snoozing. So let's say that you have 3 accounts now. You've got Facebook, you've got LinkedIn, and you've got Instagram. You can post to each of those individually. You can hook Facebook and Instagram together, and so that if you post on one, you get the option to post on the other. So that's pretty handy. So you can post in both places. They're a little bit different though. You can't put a link in Instagram. So some of it translates and some of it doesn't. We use a tool called Hootsuite, and it's pretty easy to use. And it allows us to create these different streams. You can see how it's moving here. It's actually going out and looking. So we have set up our Twitter account, our LinkedIn account, our Instagram account, and our Facebook account on here. And when we want to do a post, we can choose to post it to multiple things at once. So we're going to, so if we wanted to do a post, so if I did create a post, where's create a post? Create a post. I can create a post and I can publish it to multiple, I can say I want to publish it to LinkedIn. So I can choose and then I can do the same thing. And so it'll go to all those different accounts. You have to think about the lowest common denominator. So recognizing that your post might look different on each account because Instagram won't include the link, for instance. So those are things to think about. The other thing that you can do here, and Nancy Turner is our Hootsuite expert, is you can create a post and then you can save it so that you can have the same post and do it later and put a different picture on it. So you don't want to do the same picture over and over again because people look at it and they're like, I already saw that. So you can create a calendar or a calendar develops through this as you create different posts. And you can see here, if I can find my cursor, that today, Wednesday, at 8 o'clock this morning, Nancy posted something to LinkedIn, to Facebook, and to our Instagram account. And she's going to post something on Friday about our upcoming webinar. So you can schedule it ahead of time and you don't have to worry about it. It's always easier. I find it easier to not have to get up in the morning and think, oh, I have to do a Facebook post today. But if I'm planning an event, for instance, or I can create a series and I can put them in a tool like this, or you can do the same thing on Facebook. You can schedule them so that you do your posts and then let them happen at the time when it's convenient. All right, so are you still working from Facebook? No, this is Hootsuite right now. And are the picture sizes different for the various social medias? Yes, they're slightly different. And that's what's really great about Canva is you can create on Canva an Instagram story. So you see here it says it's 1080 by 1920. Facebook post is 940 by 788. So this is an easy way to create something that fits, and then you download it and upload it into the right application. Let's see. I probably won't go over branch development next time. I'm going to go over it right now. And is Hootsuite a personal account? No. Oh, well, no. We have set it up with our AAUW California logins, and Nancy and I share that, and we both use the same login for that account. So let me talk a little bit about setting up social media on your website sidebar. So for the folks who are the website geeks, stick around. And if you're not, thank you for joining this evening. The webinar will be posted shortly. So I just want to go over this. It's pretty easy to do this. If you have logged in, so if you go to the bottom and you use your admin login down here, when you do that, you get this toolbar at the top, which is my site. So I manage a bunch of sites. This is the site that I'm on right now. I can go to the dashboard, widgets, or menus. But the thing that I like to do, which is the easiest for me, is to go to customize. And if you go to customize, it brings up several options over here. And these are all documented in the presentation. So just relax and watch. So I'm going to go to widgets. And I'm going to customize widgets. And you'll see that I have an option for the main sidebar. And this is the main sidebar here. Okay, so on my main sidebar, I have our calendar. I've got to join now. I've got to find us on Facebook, and then a couple of links here. So I'm going to go to the main sidebar. And this is new. So they've been changing the site, and they're have obviously upgraded the WordPress version that we're using. So they're because the new version of WordPress is Gutenberg, and is they're using block widgets. So I'm just going to say, yeah, I got that. And then I want to add down here. I'm going to add. And the thing you want to add, if you're not familiar with widgets, it's custom HTML. So you can browse all, or you can do a / and type HTML, and it'll bring up custom HTML. Oops. And then you get this place to write the HTML. And I put this on the presentation. And let's see if I can go back there. Where is it? I have to find it. Not sure where it is. Anyways, I gave you the link. So there's a piece of text, and it starts with, you're going to center it, and then you're going to, it says href, and then it asks you in the yellow what your social media account is, and you're going to replace that with social media account. So you're going to go to Instagram, and you're going to copy the URL when you go to your Instagram account. And then the second part of it is an image. So I gave you the links to download the images for the different social media accounts. You put those in your media library, and then you're going to use that reference from your media library in there. So so that's how you create that. Isabel says not all of us are allowed by national to have the tools. We have to request them and demonstrate some knowledge. That's funny. So ask for the upgraded level of administrator, and I think they'll give it to you. The other thing you can do is just send it to them. If they won't allow you to, just say, I want you to post my link over here. So you can do that as well. So what you see here is I've used a couple of different things. These are just links. And here I have a picture. So this is the Facebook one. So you could find us on Facebook, and you could do national. So down here we have national, we have California is just links. So two different styles of doing this. And this one here is an actual image. So you can use images or not, or you can just put in the text here. And this is a Google Calendar, and it's the same thing. I use the HTML block, and I embedded that information from there. So let me see if I can find my, I don't know where my presentation went. It's disappeared, which is not unusual. Okay. So I'm just going to talk now, and we're over time, and I realize that I have a couple of things I would like to suggest to you. If you want to move forward on this and you're going to come to the February meeting, I would suggest that you do the things that are on the last slide. One is to go ahead and create your social media accounts. So I've given you some links to YouTube videos that you can watch. Those are really, really good ways to get started. They walk you through step by step, and then use the information that we shared tonight on how to kind of customize it for AAUW. Try adding your links to your website. So use this tool. Not everybody has the national website. I recognize that. And if you don't, the process is the same. But the way for the way that you do it is very similar on most other websites. In fact, national is much harder because they control so much of it. And then start posting. And so that when we get back together in February, you can let me know how it's going, and you can ask questions on that. We're going to talk more about the perfect message from the perspective of what should you post to Facebook versus Instagram versus LinkedIn. So there are different message lengths that are ideal. The kinds of ways that you post is different, but just get started. Don't worry about that now. Just get started and do some posts and try to get people to like your page. And then join me on February 22nd and we'll talk more about it then. So a couple of questions I see. How do you copy the links in the chat? I think Nancy's answering that. Will you show us how to create a calendar for our page in February? It's not on the schedule for the February session. Let me think about that. I don't know if we have enough time, but I'll add it to our list of things that people would like to know. All right. So let's see. I don't think there are any questions out there. And I see that Gail and Nancy have done a good job of answering them as I've been going along and had them up there. So I hope that I answered most of your questions. And I'm going to end the session now. I don't think there are any more questions. Are there out there that we need to answer, or are we good to go? I'm going to take the silence as it's time to end our session. I'm going to stop the recording. So thank you, everybody, and I will see you on February 22nd. Good night.